and welcome. My name is Roxanne Glauser and I'm Content Director here at Whirlidurb, and I want to welcome you to the next installment of our Content Connection series. And what we're doing is I am talking with educators from zoos, museums, and cultural institutions about how they use technology to support their educational initiatives and their outreach, because we have amazingly powerful technologies that can really transport us to so many places that before we couldn't get to. So today we're delighted to have with us, we have Karin Davidson-Taylor, who is the Education Officer for the Royal Botanical Gardens in between Burlington and Hamilton, Ontario. So welcome, Karin. We're glad to have you today.
And thank you, Roxanne. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to share a little bit.
All right, well, let's get into it. So let's start with, I will tell you, down here in Texas, I have actually visited Alberta, but I've never visited Ontario. So what I want you to do is just tell us a little bit about the Royal Botanical Gardens there, and what do you do there at the gardens?
Okay, so just to give you an idea of where I am, in case you're not sure, I'm going to switch over to Google Earth. So you're going to see a blue screen just for a second, and then you're going to see most of North America. Not all of it, but most of it. And you'll also see me. So there's Texas down there, just in case. And I am all the way up here, right next to Lake Ontario, and we've got about 2,700 acres of land. So, but only of that 2,700 acres of land, only 300 of it is gardens. Otherwise, the rest of it is natural lands. And so, just in case you're still wondering where we are, that's Niagara Falls right there. And then Toronto is just north of us there. So let me go a little bit closer to Royal Botanical Gardens, just a little bit closer, just to give you another idea of how close we are to the city. So we've got Hamilton here, Burlington here, and then this is all of us. So we have a lot of property, and we're actually one of the largest urban gardens in North America. So pretty neat fact. So if you were going to come to Royal Botanical Gardens, we do a lot of environmental education, but it's really important for us to get the kids and you outside, not just in the classroom. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little minute. But I just wanted to share what it's like right now. If you came to Royal Botanical Gardens, you'd see wetlands, you'd also see forests, you'd see wild rice, lilies, lots of different cattails, and believe me, there are so many different animals that are within this area. So we have frogs, turtles, chickadees that feed out of your hand, beautiful butterflies, and of course, what wild area wouldn't be without the chipmunk? Greedy little chipmunk feeding himself, getting ready for winter. So lots of different things in our natural areas, that 2,400 acres, but then we have 300 acres of gardens, and we have indoor gardens, which this is, and actually, I just can't resist. I have to share. This flower here actually belongs to this plant, and it's called a bird of paradise, and you may have seen or heard of it before, but this is what we have growing in our gardens. This is the big version of it. So just look at the difference. The flower, though, isn't quite so beautiful, but pretty fantastic just the same. And then we have, of course, the flower gardens. What botanical garden would not be complete without the rose garden? And then we think it's really important that you plant and you have vegetables. So we want to show people that you can have vegetables even in old tires and old boots. You don't have to have a plot of land. So for us, that's what Royal Botanical Gardens is. It's really important for us to make that connection to the plant world. So there's a little bit about Royal Botanical Gardens and where we are in relation to where you might be.
Okay, that is fantastic, Karin. So as the education officer, what are you in charge of there? What do you do at Royal Botanical?
Well, when I first came, my main role was to design, develop, create, get video conferencing on like get it as part of our regular education delivery. And we've been doing education in Royal Botanical Gardens for about 65 years. So, but we thought, just reaching those people within that 50-mile radius really isn't a lot. We wanted to reach further to get people sort of making that bigger connection to plants. And what better way than video conferencing? And so Barb McKean, who is our manager, she was the one that started the whole project. I came online, and the rest is history. We've been doing programs now since 2007.
Wow, that is fantastic. Now, okay, seeing the pictures of what you shared with me, and I'm imagining the garden, so I could really see bringing my kids there on site, and I could see us learning and touching and smelling and having that being their experience. But now we're talking about video conferencing and how you can bring that, expand it past those 50 miles. So if a teacher or a class connected with you in a video conference, can you just give us like a little idea of what they might do?
Well, it actually depends on what the program is the teacher's doing. So if we're doing a program about insects, I can bring in insects that maybe the teacher won't have access to. And the other thing that's really neat is I've got technology that allows me to get really, really close that the teacher probably doesn't have access to. So I've got the insects. I've got the experts here that I can rely on, as well as my own knowledge. And I've got plants and access to things that they may not have. Now, in some presentations, I'll actually ask the teacher to have certain things on hand because they are good examples of certain things that I'm talking about. But I also want to show them how accessible plants are and how easy it is for them to bring them into the classroom and use them. So maybe I might inspire them to do a more in-depth search with their class about plants. And also I've got topics here that they may not even have thought of or not even touched on because they're not familiar with them. And that's what I bring. I bring maybe either expertise or knowledge of adaptations to particular ecosystems or something like that that they may not even have comprehended and even maybe been a little bit nervous to touch.
That
this is a way for them to reach it.
That is a theme that I'm hearing, because there are some topics that I've heard that some content providers are like, we get almost invited in to be like a guest teacher on certain topics to really showcase that expertise. So it sounds like to me some things the teacher might gather up some materials, or some things you're going to have the materials there for them.
Yeah.
So, and the students are going to be doing some observational. Do y'all have any programs where the students are like making anything or kind of hands-on applications?
Well, a lot of the things I'll either do, I do a program about pumpkins, and one of the things we do is together at the end of the program, so the final thing, we draw together a pumpkin plant. So that's something that we can do. Or what we'll do is, if I'm doing a program about plant adaptations, I'll ask the teacher to have certain plants on hand, and then the students can look at them, touch them, smell them, not taste them. But they can interact with those plants and stuff like that. Let me see what else. There's also opportunities where I might send a teacher a document, and maybe the students have to put things in a particular order, or they have to assign them to a particular ecosystem or something like that. It just depends on what the presentation is.
Okay, wonderful. And that is actually something that I like to hear, because I'm always a little bit suspicious when someone says, oh, this is good for kindergarten through 12th grade. I'm like, I'm always a little curious. I'm like, really? Because what I know about kindergartners and middle school and high school, they're very different. So I like hearing that your answer is it depends on the program. I love to hear that. That is very, very calming to me. I'm like, okay, she knows what she's doing there. Now, the other thing that I'm listening for and asking people about is, This day and time, we have video about everything. There are and I don't remember the stats, how many minutes and hours of YouTube videos are created every day. So there's, YouTube, there is, we have NBC News now developing educational videos. We have Discovery videos. We have, there's so many around. So we really have more access to information than ever before. I want you to tell me, what do you think is the power of the synchronous, the real-time interaction? Because it's sometimes a pain to get people in the same place at the same time. That scheduling can be a little bit, why would we do that?
Well, the last word you said, interaction. And I think for me, that is a key thing, because I can go blah, 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 and I can be a talking head till I'm blue in the face. And that's what I think those types of things are. Is it, a webinar or a virtual tour? It's not quite the same thing. I can ask questions, I can get answers back, but they can ask questions of me. And that's what I love. I love it when they ask questions of me, because then I know they're engaged. That's one of my key things. And especially, I'm going to be answering questions that are relevant to them, not necessarily what I think they should know, but what they want to know. And that, the little KWL chart that often children or teachers do, what do you know? What do you want to know? And it's always interesting to find out what they've learned at the end, too. So interactive, engaging, motivating, because maybe these presentations have ended up being a jumping off spot. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they did if they participated in one of my insect presentations, and then they went outside and discovered the biodiversity of insects within their own schoolyard, or they tried to find something, or maybe they found a way to encourage the insects to come into their schoolyard by planting a wildlife garden or a pollinator garden. That's what I love about it. I think it's the interaction, plain and simple, and the ability to be there with them in their learning.
That's interesting. As I was listening to you talk about that, you started with the interaction, but really, what I heard? I heard ongoing assessment is what I heard as you're checking for understanding. You mentioned the students asking questions, and I read somewhere, and this always stuck with me. Wouldn't it be nice if we could evaluate our students based on the quality of the questions they asked instead of the answers they give? And so I think that is that really goes to the heart of what you answered. And the other thing, and I think we find this more in science, the scientific misconceptions that are so powerful.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I discover, I learn that every single day. And it's even some of the teachers. I love them, but even the teachers have little misconceptions, and they're totally honest. I even had some of them before I was doing some of my programs. So they're very honest misconceptions. But here's an opportunity to share what the real thing is, and to get that those little inquiring minds, the natural curiosity that's already there. Let's spark that even more. Let's activate that and get them out there exploring more.
I tell you what, just talking to you, okay, you could get me really excited thinking about plants here. Now, okay, I'm really interested here. Now, I've seen kind of what you're doing. I can really tell your kind of educational philosophy and how you can interact with them. So talk to me, just kind of overview, like cost of your programs. Do you know of grants available, kind of topics? Are there any, I know it's plants. Okay, I got that part. But any grade levels that your programs are the best fit for, or do y'all go, kind of all levels? So just give us a little peek into that, and then we'll point them to the websites too.
Okay, so the price, you mentioned that the first time, $125. So that's what they are, and it's $125 US. It makes accounting so much easier. Then you don't have to worry about the exchange, and that's okay. And programs. We have sort of, I guess I could put my programs into 4 different areas. And the first area is insects. and we look at insects and the characteristics, and we look at how insects survive the winter. But those programs are I do those from K to 3, so kindergarten to grade 3. But with each grade level, the standards or the objectives are a little bit different. And for me, what's really important is that I connect with the teacher ahead of time, if I can. And I say, look, this is what I'd like to do. What do you expect me to do? So is there a focus? And for some of my insect programs, I've had a teacher say, I would really like you to talk about ladybugs. So we've concentrated on ladybugs. Or I've had teachers say, we are studying this, 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 and this. Can you do that? And I say, absolutely. So we will work around that. And so it's much more a consultative process rather than it's my program and you're going to do it. I don't like that. So insects is one. And obviously the interaction with the plants included in that. And then the second sort of area that we do is sort of plant biology and ecology. So we look at plant adaptations. We look at pollination and seed germination and seed dispersal. So all of those sort of things. And within those, there are some experiments that students could do ahead of time, or there'll be stuff to get. And then the third area is basically wetlands and the wetland ecosystem and human impacts on that wetland ecosystem. And then depending on where they're coming from, I will also do a little research and put a local focus on it too. What's happening in their own locality? What ecosystems do they have there? What impacts do they have there? So I'll do a little research to find that out. And then the fourth area I should say, is how we use plants. So whether we use them for clothing, for food, medicine, we'll look at how we use plants. And then I also do a focus on two different types. I do a focus on, and I'm going to skip down here, I do a focus on chocolate. So how do you go from a cacao pod to the nibs to chocolate? But because I don't just sort of do a presentation about sort of chocolate in general, I also look at, in just one moment, because it's down here, I also look at cacao and how this plant survives in the rainforest and what interactions it has with its within the rainforest and the animals that it depends on. So we look at the role of the rainforest for the cacao, but we also look not at how big manufacturing companies are processing the cacao, but how they used to do it and still do it in countries like Belize. So how do the Mayans process chocolate or cacao to make chocolate? So we take sort of a slower approach to chocolate. And then we also do a program about healing plants. So what do we use to heal? So for some of you, you may take a little garlic, but maybe you take garlic in the real form, or you may, grate a little ginger, feeling an upset tummy, those sorts of things. And we also look finally at organic gardening. So maybe you want to start a garden in your school. What do you need to know if you want to do it sustainably? What do you need to know? So a variety of programs, and here's one thing. If you have an idea of a program, or if you've got something and I really don't know how to do this, could you please help? Bring it on. Because if it's anything to do with plants, taxonomy, dichotomous keys, I'm bringing some big things in here, but I've done very special programs for teachers. And if it's something of interest, and we now do programs en français, in French. It's so exciting. We can now offer 2 programs in French, but we're both primary, junior, but we're working on offering more, and we are so excited about that, to be able to do that in French. So if you want to learn a little bit more about insects or plant parts or growing plants that en français, then you can.
That is huge, because I know I get that asked a lot from our Canadian schools. They're like, do you offer it in French? Now, the other thing, connecting down here, if you offer in Spanish as well.
Yeah, see, Spanish, it's a little harder for us to find somebody. It was even very difficult for us to find a French interpreter, because they get snapped up by our schools. So we are very lucky to have someone here so I don't do the programs. I will be the tech support, but this person will be doing our programs, and this person has worked in a number of natural area centers already, so very familiar with things. So.
Okay, that sounds like you've got great things going there. I wanted to ask about connections. Right now we're connected through 323 video conferencing. How can schools connect to you?
The same way, so H2323 technology, but also I have done presentations using browser-based software called Field Trip Zoom, and that has worked out very well. It means that I can use all my equipment and do everything I normally do, and the presentation is exactly as I would do it with a school that has a traditional system. And all you need to do is have a laptop with a webcam and external speakers and a microphone, and Bob's your uncle. Off you go.
Oh, fantastic. Now, Karin, this is the last bit of the program, and I'm going to include everything in show notes. This is your shameless self-promotion time of the program. So tell us, where do we find more about you? Give us the social media, the website. How do we find more about what you're doing up there?
Well, there's the YouTube channel and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and let's see now. Let's see. Oh, Twitter. Yeah, I said Twitter. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Flickr. Yeah. So those will be where there are a lot of pictures, but on the YouTube channel, there's actually a specific video that we have put together about video conferencing at Royal Botanical Gardens. And I think that will be listed on the blog site. I sent that one to Roxanne. And then the other thing is you can also go on our website. And Roxanne, can I switch to that? Can I just, is that okay? So actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll do it a regular way. Maybe I'll just do it this way. Switch to content, and you should. We didn't try this, but I hope this should work.
Let's see. Yep, I have it now.
So what you see on there is that's our website. So our email address or our website address is www.rbg.ca/video conferencing, and I know that will also be up for you to see. And on that website, and I didn't have a chance to mention this, I just realized this, even though I'm in Canada, everything is curriculum connected. And I use American national standards, and I even go so far as to look up the state standards, because the national standards are fine, but sometimes I want to be much more specific about what I'm doing, because I would do the same for Ontario schools. I would look up the standard for Ontario, for Alberta, for Quebec, whatever school I'm doing a presentation in. And so there's the little link to our YouTube video about video conferencing. And then there's more information on our website about what to find, what the curriculum connections are, where we look for things. There's lots of different things here. And if you have, and I'll just come out of that, if there's a request, perhaps you want to know more about careers at Botanical Gardens, that's something that's available. But so don't put a lot of advertisement, and we'd have to make sure that we get our staff to come in. So that would be a very special one. Okay, but we'd be happy to do that.
My goodness. All right. Karin, I want to thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I really, I always knew Royal Botanical, I'd heard it, and I'd always seen you kind of with the plant next to you. I had no idea, and I don't know why I didn't connect this, the insects, brilliant. It just didn't, when I was thinking gardens, I didn't think insects. So love it. So we've got insect types of programs. We've got plant biology, wetland ecosystems. Love that part with human impact. And then how we use plants. So those are main types of programs. Yep. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us here on our Content Connections. And so what we always like to remind people is it's so important for us to be creative, to be engaged, and to be connected. The technologies out there are so powerful. So we hope that this has been informative for you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much, Karin.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.